We continue with text 4. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada is clarifying, Arjuna is not inquiring for himself, but for those who do not believe in the personality of Godhead. That's why he's inquiring for us, not for himself. He knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It was in the Mahabharata, before Bhagavad Gita was spoken. They were in exile, and their family priest, I forgot his name, but it appeared there very clearly. They knew all that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. They knew all the Pandavas. Because Yudhishthira Maharaj on the Rajasuya sacrifice and the Ugra Puja for Krishna, the most important person of the assembly, because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was very clear. So the devotees will always worship such authoritative statements of Krishna, because they are always eager to know more and more about him. So like I said, the young boy and young girl, they fall in love. The boy will love at the first sight. The boy will be very eager to memorize the mobile number of the girl. That will happen immediately. He's so eager. So if we are very eager to know about Krishna, then we are very eager to memorize what Krishna is saying, and to remember. Every verse you memorize, it's a treasure in your heart. You remember what Krishna said, and you will act upon it. But yes, although Krishna is unborn, he comes into this world to re-establish religion. That's the whole section that we are discussing here. That anyone who understands this knowledge will attain love for Krishna and go back to Godhead at the end of his life. He is the ultimate goal of all paths. Everyone is dependent upon his mercy for attaining success. So Arjuna said, you appeared after Vivasvan. He was born previous to you. How can I understand that you spoke this yoga in the beginning? Why is Arjuna's question important for all of us? When we really understand Krishna's position, then how would that change our behavior in the world and our attitude towards it? 5. Text 5. Krishna replies, Bahuni mi vyatitani janmanaita vasarna tanyam veda sarvani natvam veti parantapa. The personality of God has said, many births you and I have passed. I remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. In the purport, that little dawn. In the Vedas also it is said that the Lord, although one without a second, manifests himself in innumerable forms. Is like a Vaidurya stone which changes color yet remains the same. So it's the same person, but it takes different forms. You have a very particular form here in Simhachalam, near Singadev. It's also Krishna. And whenever the Lord incarnates, associated devotees also incarnate in order to serve the Lord in different capacities. Arjuna is one of these devotees. Interesting. So, when Srila Prabhupada writes here that when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Vivasvan, Arjuna was also there, but in another capacity. He had a fire body. He was also there because he travels with Krishna. He was also there, but he has to change body. Therefore, he forgets. And Krishna does not change body. So the Lord is described in the Brahma Samhita as infallible, which means that he never forgets himself, even though he's in material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects, even if the living entity is as liberated as Arjuna. Further, consequently, these descriptions in the Gita cannot be understood by demonic brains. That's a problem. Notice, yeah. So Krishna has a Satchitananda body. There is no distinction between his body and himself. That in our original position, there is also no difference between our body and ourselves. But in the material world, we change body. The demons cannot adjust themselves to this transcendental nature of the Lord, which the Lord himself explains in the following verse. So here, that Krishna remembers all his past appearances because he does not change his body, but the devotees who accompany him cannot remember theirs. Still, they easily understand the Lord's transcendental nature when reminded by the Lord, but the demoniac persons can never understand. So, as Baladev Vidyabhushan and Srila Prabhupada mentions Baladev Vidyabhushan in the purport. As I hold many eternal forms within myself, like the Vaidurya gem, which displays many colors, I taught him in another form previously. Krishna says to Arjuna. Like the Vaidurya gem, although the Lord is without any second, he manifests himself in innumerable forms. He's like a Vaidurya stone, it changes colors, yet remain one. Srila Prabhupada is using Srila Baladev's Vidyabhushan's analogy in the purport. So Arjuna is covered by the Lord's internal energy. In intending to say this, the Lord says, I have passed through many births. You, because you are my friend, also have passed through the same number of births, but you do not know this, because now your knowledge is covered for carrying out my pastimes by my inconceivable energy. That's very clear. But Baladev Vidyabhushan says that. So Arjuna is covered by the Lord's internal energy. So Vishwanath Chakravarti, you do not know, since I cover your knowledge for fulfilling the purpose of my pastimes. So you do not know, since I cover your knowledge for fulfilling the purpose of my pastimes. With knowledge covered, O afflictor of the enemy, you afflict Tapa, the enemies, Param, by thinking of yourself as the son of Kunti, a Kshatriya during this life. So that's the influence of Yoga Maya. Goes in Yoga Maya, Maya, under Maya, we think also ourselves, the son of the daughter of this or that. So the Lord also takes birth, but Krishna does that so that Arjuna can play his role wholeheartedly. It's real, so-called real. The Lord also takes birth, but does not undergo any transformation. As in the prison, that the Lord does not undergo any transformation, since this is refuted in later statements of the Lord. And that statement will come now in 4.6. If God is a human, then he cannot be omniscient. The Lord said, you and I have gone through many births. I know all of these, but you do not afflict of the enemies. That's omniscient. So Arjuna forgets previous lives, but being born, the Lord does not undergo any transformation. Reflections. What is the importance of realizing that we have forgotten numerous previous lives? What should be the impact of this knowledge on our present attitude toward a temporary material world? We take this life so serious. And we have gone through so many lifetimes. It's nothing serious. It's soon over. We had so many problems, but the problems are soon over. Verse 6. Okay, verse 6. Krishna speaks now about this transcendental nature. Ayopisan avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropisan prakritim svamabhistaya sambhavani atmamaya. Although I'm born and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I'm the Lord of all living entities, in my internal energy, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. If someone in the purport, if someone is asked what he did exactly at the same time 1 day earlier, it would be very difficult for a common man to answer immediately. He has to think a little. What did I do? What did I do yesterday? At 14:32. I have to think a bit. He does not change his body as the common living entities change from one body to another, but later and then down. But astonishingly enough, he has never aged beyond youth, Krishna. The next page. We never see a picture of Krishna in old age because he never grows old like us, although he's the oldest person in the whole creation, past, present, and future. His appearance and disappearance are like the sun's rising. Text. That is text 6. So although Krishna bodies never changes, he appears and disappears in each one. Like the sun rises and sets, he descends out of his own sweet will. We are not appearing out of our own sweet will. We are forced to appear in a certain family, in a certain body, and so on. But so living entities, Krishna appears so that we can concentrate on the Supreme Lord, concentrate on his eternal form. So when the sun is out of sight, we think that the sun is set. And when the sun is before our eyes, we think that the sun is on the horizon. Actually, the sun is always in a fixed position. This earth turns. So I appear with my own spiritual form, Krishna says. This is, Baladev Vidyabhushan. In speaking of the uniqueness of his birth and form, the Lord indicates his eternal nature. In this verse, the word prakriti means form, svarup, nature, svabhav, or manner. Taking support of my own form, Shyam Prakriti, I appear. Amarakosha dictionary gives the definition of Prakriti, Samsiddhi, Prakriti, Tvime, Swarupam, Svabhavasya. I appear with my own spiritual form. In his own spiritual form. Yes?
What it means with my own spiritual form? What does it mean? I take it with me or?
Yeah, he is the spiritual form. It's a question of speaking. it's like the river, the house is on the river. The house cannot be on the river, it's on the river bank. The Krishna appears and he has his spiritual form. That is a way of speaking. The Lord's appearance in the delivery room. It's like, I catch a train. We never catch the train. We go on the train. It's a way of speaking. The Lord's appearance in the delivery room. Thus one should recall his appearance in the delivery room with divine form decorated with divine ornaments and with the 6 opulences. So you give the delivery to your baby and then suddenly it's dressed and full of opulence. Must have been astonishing for Devaki. So indeed, without a birth, with normally gives to a person, which normally gives to a person a body caused by past karma. Yeah. It means it doesn't get a body like others according to their karma. So the jiva receive bodies of deva, human and animal according to their karma under the influence of papa and punya by a subtle body which causes bondage. It's because of the subtle body which is filled with material desires, and according to our karma we take the gross body. It's all arranged by Devi Prakriti, by divine arrangements. Reflections. If I want to make spiritual advancement, then how must that knowledge that I have now a body due to my past punya and pap change my consciousness and my approach to life? Are you going to change something that to get a better body, maybe? That a spiritual body. 7. So Krishna then speaks about his mission. Why he comes? So why he comes? Yadaya Damas about Vietnam Damas Tatatnam Chichamyam. So this is also a memory verse. Yadaya Damas about. Oh, Paritana is Sadnan Ganasations. So yes, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, a descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of a religion, at that time I descend myself. So in the verse it said Srijami, means that the Lord manifests himself as he is. Principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas. And any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of the Vedas makes one irreligious. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. That's also in the 6th canto, where Yamaraj speaks to the Yamadutas and said, yes, the principle of religions can only be enacted by the Lord. Therefore, the principle of religions are the direct orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Further, Lord Buddha appeared in order to stop this nonsense of sacrificing animals and to establish the Vedic principle of non-violence. He's an avatar of Krishna. Then no one should be accepted as an avatar unless he's referred into the scriptures. There is a whole list in the Bhagavatam. If someone says, I'm an incarnation, then where are you in the list? And you are not in the list. Oh. He speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. That's important. But the mission is the same, to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. The higher principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the four orders and the four statuses of social life, as will be explained later. So this is the reason for Krishna's appearance in any incarnation. That see, Lord Ram was also re-establishing the principles of religion. That Lord Nrsimhadev also quite forcefully. So when there is the destruction of Dharma, which is taught in the Vedas, and appearance of Adharma, which is opposed to Dharma, I manifest myself, Atmanam Shinchami. So then, this is Baladev further. Destruction of Dharma and appearance of Adharma. When there is destruction of the Dharma, which is taught in the Vedas, and appearance of Adharma, that which is opposed to Dharma, I manifest myself, Atmanam Chichami. The phrase Atmanam Chichami cannot mean I make my body, since the eternal nature of his body has already been established in the previous verse. Thus there is no fixed period for my appearance, such as every 1,000 years. So this verse explains when the Lord appears, and it reveals that the mission of incarnations is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. We have the 10 avatars here. More or less, they are not all there. It couldn't fit on the picture. Reflections. How will this knowledge, if accepted wholeheartedly, direct or change the objectives of our life if we realize that surrender to Lord Krishna is the highest religious principle? Wait. Now, verse 8. Yeah. So in verse 7, all incarnations have the same mission, leading people to God consciousness. But the principles of religion appear higher or lower in circumstances. The text 8. Paritranaya sadhana vinasaya sadushkaram dharma sampartanartaya sambhavan yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to establish the principle of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. That we will hear a little more of our commentators about that, but in the purport, I read a few sentences. The Lord has many agents who are quite competent to vanquish demons. But the Lord especially that sends to appease his unalloyed devotees who are always harassed by the demoniac. So it means Krishna can kill demons in every moment. He doesn't need to come to kill the demons. He can arrange it through nature, or is in their heart. You can just let them fall. He doesn't need to come, but he comes for his devotees, to protect his devotees and to associate with his devotees. I remember devotees here in Germany many years ago. That was in Hamburg. Hamburg in the, I think it was in Hamburg, in the area where of the harbor where there were a lot of prostitution, and they were doing Harinam, and a man came out of this brothels of also, and he was a very, very powerful man, and the devotees were doing Harinam, and it came a storm to them to knock them down, and the devotees started to chant Namaste Narasimhaya, and a few meters before them, he got a heart attack and died. Gone. So Krishna does not need to come to kill the demons. It's in their heart. But that's a true story. You can ask the ancestors here. That's a true story. Yeah. That was in Hamburg. So there are various kinds of avatars, such as Purusha avatars, Guna avatars, Lila avatars, Sakyabhesh avatars, Manvantar avatars, and Yuga avatars, all appear on schedule all over the universe. So this is all described, all these signs of incarnations in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's amazing. Therefore, the prime purpose of Krishna's avatar is to satisfy his unalloyed devotee. So that's the point. When Krishna comes, he simultaneously protects his devotees and destroys the demons. But he comes to mitigate the anxieties of the pure devotee, who are very anxious to see him, especially in his original Vrindavan pastimes. So here, in every age I appear in order to protect the devotees, to destroy the demons, and to establish Dharma. But your devotees, the saintly kings, appear in order to wipe out the rise of our Dharma and destruction of Dharma. So why you say that you appear in order to do this? But my devotees are absorbed in relishing my form and qualities. They long to see my form and thus suffer from not seeing my form. I appear in order to deliver them from this suffering by showing my attractive form directly. I also appear to destroy those performing evil deeds, Duskritam, persons like Ravan and Kamsa, who torment my devotees and who cannot be killed by anyone except me. Yeah, well, Hiranyakasipu, nobody could kill him because Brahma gave these benedictions, and only thing they've said that after killing Hiranyakasipu to Brahma, don't do such, don't give such foolish benedictions. But anyway, I did it again afterwards. Yeah. I also appear to destroy those performing evil deeds, persons like Ravan and Kamsa, who torment my devotees and who cannot be killed by anyone except me. Yeah. So, Prabhupada, Vishwanath. I appear for delivering my dedicated devotees, whose hearts are bursting with longing for me, who are suffering due to their devotion, for destroying the evil-minded persons like Ravan, Kamsa, and Keshi, who give suffering to my devotees, and who cannot be killed except by me, and for establishing in a firm way the supreme dharma of meditating on me, worshipping me, serving me, and singing about me, which cannot be instituted by anyone else than me. A sadhu is a man in Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada says. Duskritam here applies to those who do not care for Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. It is not necessary for the Supreme Lord to destroy demons. For that, he doesn't have to come. The Lord especially descends to appease his unalloyed devotees. So, and then all these avatars which are mentioned here by Prabhupada. One can attain the perfect stage of liberation from birth and death simply by knowing the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there is no other way to achieve this perfection. By knowing the Lord. Reflection. The Lord appears as a reciprocation with his devotees longing to see me. Ravan and Kamsan could not be killed by anyone except Lord Krishna. Can we kill the demon of lust in our heart without Krishna? How can we use this knowledge to develop inner attitudes favorable for spiritual advancement? Change of heart. Invite Krishna to kill the demon in your heart. 9. Janma kamas medevyam evam yoviti tatvyatyakvam punarjanmana iti mamiti sarana. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. So, the living entity, such liberation of the living entity from material bondage is not at all easy, Prabhupada writes. But the devotee, simply by understanding the transcendental nature of the body and activities of the Lord, attains the abode of the Lord after entering the body and does not run the risk of returning to this material world. Further, he who accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who does not waste time in philosophical speculation, attains the highest perfectional stage. A faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection. Further, there is no alternative means that anyone who does not understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead is surely in a mode of ignorance, and consequently he will not attain salvation simply, so speak, by licking the outer surface of the bottle of honey, or by interpreting the Bhagavad Gita according to mundane scholarship. Such puffed up mundane scholars have to wait for the causeless mercy of the devotee of the Lord. One should therefore cultivate Krishna consciousness with faith and knowledge, and in this way attain perfection. So liberation, Vidya, Alde Vidya Bhushan says, liberation comes easy for the Lord's exclusive devotees through hearing about the Lord's activities. One should have firm faith that the Lord's birth and activities are spiritual. One should be indifferent to material logic. O Arjuna attains me, and to that devotee I manifest the form that he personally worshipped. Returning to the kingdom of God by understanding the truth of the appearance of the Supreme Personality of God. So here, although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are still one and the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to understand this fact with conviction, although incomprehensible to mundane scholars. The meaning of Divya. Ramanuja. Divya means non-material, spiritual. Siddhaswami. Divya means uncommon, beyond the good, the gunas, eternal birth and activities. Jiva Goswami. The Lord has no material birth and activities. Vishwanath. Divya means not approachable by logic or inconceivable. So our acharyas think about this, each word. That person does not take birth again, but rather attains me. The words Tyaktva only indicate the last condition of life. For not only giving up the body, one does not take birth again, but even while not giving up the body, before that one attains me. They become Krishna conscious and pure. You attain already Krishna in this body. Destroying all sins which are unfavorable for surrendering to me by true knowledge of my spiritual birth and activities, taking shelter of me in this life in the prescribed way, that person who holds me alone as dear, constantly thinking of me, attains me. Reflections. How does the understanding of the Lord's transcendental form and pastimes help devotees to make progress on the path of self-realization? Can I discover the innate spiritual nature of the inner self without knowing Lord Krishna's position? Verse 10. And this is this verse we quoted when we spoke about Pitaraga Bhayakoda. Pitaraga Bhayakoda Manmaya Mama Pashita Bhopagana Tapasa Buddhamat Bhavam Agata. So, being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So Krishna, in the previous verses, said, if you know my appearance and my transcendental nature, you don't take birth again. But that's a process which is explained now in verse 10. Krishna says this is a process of getting to know me. Yes, one gets free from attachment, fear, and anger. Attachment, fear, and anger is because we identify with the body and the mind, the body concept of life. You get rid of it because you become completely absorbed in Krishna. By thinking of Krishna, Krishna gives you realized knowledge in the heart. So one becomes purified by knowledge. And then when you are purified, then all the material desires are gone and there is place for love. Then love. In the purport, generally people who are attached to the body concept of life are so absorbed in materialism that it is practically impossible for them to understand how the Supreme can be a person. Therefore, people in general keep this bodily idea in mind when they are informed of the personal form of God. They consider the Supreme to be impersonal. The conception of relating the personality after liberation frightens them. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives three problems, three misconceptions that one has to get rid of all three stages of material consciousness: attachment to material life, fear of spiritual identity, and the conception of void that arises from frustration in life. Three false conceptions and then, according to then this verse is quoted from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, which you will study soon in the Nectar of Devotion. Adashta tatasata sangatya vachanakriya tato nartanyavitasya tato nishtaruchistata asaktistato bhavastata premadunansati sadakam premna pradurбhavibhavatkama. Can someone read that last, the translation?
In the beginning, one must have a preliminary desire for self-realization. This will bring one to the stage of trying to associate with persons who are spiritually elevated. In the next stage, one becomes initiated by an elevated spiritual master, and under his instruction, the unified devotee begins the process of devotional service. By execution of devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master, one becomes free from all material attachment, attains steadiness and self-realization, and acquires a taste of hearing about the absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This taste leads one further forward to attachment to Krishna consciousness, which is matured in Bhava, or the preliminary stage of transcendental love of God. Real love for God is called prema, the highest perfectional stage of life. In the prema stage, there is constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So, by the slow process of devotional service, under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, One can attain either stage, being free from all material attachment, from the fearfulness of one's individual spiritual personality, and from the frustration that result in void philosophy. Then one can ultimately attain to the goal of the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes 2 points. That people who are too materially attached, they cannot go to this process. And because they neglect spiritual life, that some fear a personal spiritual existence, and therefore they want to merge with the impersonal Brahman. So there is no conception of God as a person, as a problem. And the others, they disbelieve in everything. They are angry and frustrated and hopeless. And they come to the conclusion everything is void. That, oh yeah. Fear of a spiritual identity and the conception of void. And those who are too attached to material life, 3 kinds. And then, at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes it clear devotional service is a process. It's a process from Shraddha to Prema. And under the guidance of a spiritual master, one can attain the highest stage, being freed from material attachment and fearfulness of one's spiritual personality and from the frustration that result in void philosophy. So one can get rid of it if one surrenders to a spiritual master and go to the process. So here on the screen you have, attachment, fear, anger. That we can get free from that if we know Krishna and perform devotional service, and then we get knowledge. Krishna gives us knowledge by which we become purified, and then we develop love of God. Having given up attachment, fear, and anger towards those who do not believe in my eternal nature, having faith only in me, serving me wholeheartedly, many persons purified by the austerity of knowledge of my birth and activities attain love of me. So the austerity of knowledge. One becomes purified by the austerity of knowledge and then attains attraction, bhav for Krishna. And that's affection for Krishna. Bhav for Krishna. In Hindi, Krishna consciousness is Krishna Bhavana. Krishna consciousness in Hindi is Bhav for Krishna. Knowledge is knowledge of my eternal birth and activities. So the austerity of knowledge, because knowledge arises only by analysis of the different Shruti passages. So one must hear about Krishna from the scriptures. Regarding the meaning of jnana tapasa, Ramanujacharya said they became purified by the austerity of realizing about the nature of my birth and activities as previously stated. Yeah. Prabhupada's purport, 3 stages of material conception of life, considering the supreme to be impersonal, fear of obtaining a personal, a spiritual personality again, and concluding that there is no supreme cause and that everything is void. You will later receive to WhatsApp this presentation. Prabhupada's purpose, to get free from these 3 stages, one must take shelter of the Lord, guided by a bona fide spiritual master, and go to the process to Shraddha and Prema. This is all the stages, these 8 stages from Nectar of Devotion, what we have to go through. That reflections. Wise knowledge of Krishna's eternal birth and activities purifying. Do I take this medicine of transcendental knowledge? Should I increase the daily dose of hearing about Krishna? Okay.
8 or 9 stages?
Please.
8 or 9 stages?
9. 9 stages. Shada, Satsanga, Bhajana, Kriya, Nartya, everything. Okay. So, any question? Yes.
That's very amazing how in this Shastri both the knowledge is really becoming present and understandable, but how can I, when the process is over, how can I study for myself and really the Bhagavad Gita, because from the experiences there's not such a deep access.
You hear it again. I said, therefore I make these recordings. You can hear it again. Hear it again and again. It will go deeper. And read the purpose again and again. And what you do is you go to bhagavadgitaclass.com and you hear the lectures of Prabhupada on each of the verses. And it will go deeper. That Dr. Anton?
Can you explain the difference between an avatar and incarnation?
Avatar and incarnation is the same. No different. Incarnation is an avatar. It's a descent out of the Supreme Lord.
So for the Shakti avatar, that is the Lord.
The Shakti is the Shakti avatar. You have different kinds. Some are the Lord, and some are a jiva, which is empowered. But it's quite the same because they get the Shakti necessary to execute their mission. But you have many incarnations. It's a whole science.
That's where the whole misconception of Jesus being God comes from. That's probably where the whole misconception of some of the Christians, they think that Jesus is God. He just has the power of God. Yeah,
Srila Vyasadeva is also is also an incarnation. It's Shakti Avesa.
He is not a jiva, is it?
Is a jiva.
But Buddha is not a jiva.
Buddha, I don't know. It's an incarnation. Buddha. It's not mentioned that there is a jiva. No, it's an incarnation. It's one of the 10 avatars. Those are avatars. So it's an incarnation.
But just for verification, I thought Vyasadeva is not.
Vishnu Tattva?
Yeah.
And that one. I thought it was a Shakti Avesa avatar. That is instructed by Narada Muni. Narada Muni is his disciple, Vyasadeva. Where did you read it? That is a Vishnu avatar.
I think I heard it a few times, but not the other way around, that only that he's an incarnation.
Yeah. It's a Shakti Avesa incarnation in that sense. But it's a jiva. It's not Vishnu Tattva. Yeah, the incarnation that are Vishnu Tattva and Shakti Avesa. It's a little complicated. That's an advanced study. You can learn that from the Chaitanya Charitamrita if you have studied the entire Bhagavatam. But you can also read teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yes.
It's time to get shown. Is Krishna.
Is Krishna self. Yeah. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. Personally. Original. Good. Then we will stop. Let's resume at 20 to 6. We will go to 6:30 today. 2.5 hours. 20 to 6. So we have 50 minutes pause. Hare Krishna.